Hello everyone, my name is Paul Stevens and welcome to this short-term rentals webinar on new channels of distribution, how social media is shaping travel choices, sponsored by Key Data and Logify. I'm the editor of Short-Term Rentals here at International Hospitality Media and I'm the host for today's session. And before we begin, let's introduce our first webinar series sponsor for today. Is a quick piece from Key Data.
It's actually helped us increase our revenue because what it allowed us to do was look at, for example, as an example, a two-bedroom property in a specific area and look at what the benchmarked ADR is for that and what the occupancy is. And we found that in some areas, our ADR was actually less than the market average.
And big thank you to Key Data for sponsoring this webinar series and this session. Let's also introduce our second webinar series sponsor. This is Logify. So as mentioned there on the video, Logify are running a 50% Black Friday campaign, including free one-to-one onboarding and free dynamic pricing for 6 months. So do go there and check it out. You can claim your offer by the 29th of November, which is next Friday. So let's go ahead now and introduce our speaker lineup for today. And let's start, please, with Daniela. Please introduce yourself, Daniela.
Hi, thank you for having me, Paul. My name is Daniela, and I'm co-founder of Skol Apartments Marbella, a holiday rental company here in Marbella. As you can see, my background on the sunny beachfronts. So together with my partner Vincenzo, we manage about 100 units of small apartments, normal apartments for the medium class. Marbella is a worldwide destination and is always recognized with 5-star luxury, and we are completely the opposite. We have normal apartments for the middle class. So this is our niche: families, digital nomads, and as well as providing our guests with accommodation and transfer. We also give them advices on how to make the most of their time in Marbella with local recommendation of bars, restaurants, and shop to visit. So we also support the small local businesses.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you very much for joining us. Next up, please, Rosie, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Paul. Really excited to be here. So I'm Rosie. I'm the co-founder of Stay the Night. We're a creative marketing agency and we work ultimately to drive bookings and revenues for all kinds of accommodation providers, mainly hotels, hybrid spaces, and co-living spaces. We work with clients all over the world. We're based in London and our team are kind of dotted all over at the moment because we work remotely. But we offer a range of services all under the digital marketing umbrella, and social media management. So TikTok, Instagram, and social media ads are actually our most popular services. So I'm really excited to share some insights about that today.
Thank you very much, Rosie. Happy to have you on. Let's welcome Ben, please.
Thanks. Thanks, Paul. Ben Wolff, co-founder of Onera, which is a upscale landscape hotel or treehouse resort brand in the Texas Hill Country. We're expanding outside of Texas, but right now we have 2 locations that have done quite well, one in Fredericksburg, one in Wimberley. And I'm also the co-founder of Oasi, which is an experiential hospitality growth management and development firm. So we provide social media management, content marketing, influencer marketing, email marketing, and then full service hotel management, as well as design and development services for ground up projects primarily. And we have clients from luxury landscape hotels and glamping sites to boutique hotels to 4-star luxury SoCal beachfront properties under, Hyatt Boundless Collection. So it's a pretty broad range of properties that we operate and market for.
Thank you very much, Ben. And last but my name is Lisa. Ryan, please go ahead.
Thanks for having me, Paul. I'm excited to be here. My name is Ryan Thompson. I'm the founder of Seeking Discovery. As a digital nomad and content creator, I travel around and work with small businesses, as well as owner-operators of short-term rentals as a Mount Steward. So I can come in and help you with your content strategy, filming on site, and putting together a strategy for long-term growth of your rental.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you to all of our panel, and really looking forward to discussing this important topic with you all today.
5 digital nomads on the same panel. My God. Aren't we lucky?
So some webinar guidelines for everyone today. So all of the details are going to be posted in the chat. So please do go there to ask any of our panelists a question. We'll have a panel discussion leading into audience questions today, and then a recording will be sent around to everyone within the next 48 hours. And before we begin though, let's put today's conversation into a little bit of context. So last week, Airbnb posted its Q3 earnings report, in which it reported a noticeable uptick in revenue and nights and experiences booked, but also a sizable downturn in net income. The company has also hinted that it's going to relaunch its experiences program in 2025 and diversify its service and product offering. Also, how prepared is it for increased competition from social media platforms and emerging competitors? We'll find out very soon. Secondly, Rosie and Stay the Night published their own article looking at, is TikTok the future of hotel bookings? And we'll be looking at how those insights translate to the rest of travel and hospitality landscape. Meanwhile, FocusWire recently produced a white paper with TikTok in which it revealed that the social media platform had seen the largest year-on-year increase in usage for travel by British residents between 2022 and 2023. So what does this tell us exactly? We did do a LinkedIn poll, which we'll be revealing the results from very shortly. And finally, we've got 2 resources here on how social media has changed the way in which we travel, particularly focusing on how it is driving inspiration for Gen Alpha, Gen Z, and millennial travelers. So that leads us very nicely into today's conversation. So I'm going to kick off, please, with Rosie. And Rosie, I think you're ideally positioned because we try and, on these webinars, try and get different perspectives beyond just short-term rentals. And with your creative marketing agency, you're looking at, as you say, at hybrid spaces, at co-living, at service departments, hotels. How have you seen the traveller and the booking journey since shift in the, I think it's 7 years since you last?
Yeah. 7 whole years. So yeah, so we actually started Stay the Night, my co-founder and I, off the back of a backpacking trip where we'd realized that hostels at the time and the places we were staying just weren't selling themselves on social media. And this was, as you say, 7 years ago. But at that point, social media was almost the last step in the booking journey. So people would go to Google, they'd go to the website, they'd go to socials and then book. But what we've seen recently is this dramatic shift towards, so Google say themselves 40% of Gen Z are now going to TikTok over Google to search. I know from my own experience, I'm a bit older than Gen Z, but I do use TikTok now to search for all kinds of things, including travel. And so I think it's almost moved so that social is now the first step in the booking journey. That's where your guests are finding you. It's where they're discovering new destinations. And that counts for Instagram as well. And so it's been really interesting to see that shift and how it's going to change things, which we're going to talk about, I'm sure, in the future as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rosie, for those insights. Let's head over to Ben next, because Ben, you've given us a bit of an insight into the difference between your Onera and Oasi businesses, two thriving businesses doing very different things. Similar sort of question here. How has social media changed the traveler journey, and thanks to social media, what sort of characteristics do you think travelers now have when they're starting to make these trip decisions?
Yeah, I think that the modern traveler today is, as Rosie said, they're starting with social in a lot of cases, especially the younger generations. Could be Instagram. I think more millennials are looking on Instagram probably to start. More Gen Z and Gen Alpha are starting on TikTok. But I truly believe that it's a better experience both for the traveler and for the host or the owner, the operator of the hotel or short-term rental, because you're actually getting video content. So it's more immersive. You can see all aspects of the property. You can actually envision yourself there. And you get to tell your own story as an operator, and really try to engage and hook people in, and you get to control all aspects and from beginning to end of the guest journey. And so on the traveler side of things, you're getting, a more immersive, a more shareable experience. It's much easier to pass it around to your friends or your romantic partner. And so, yeah, I think that things are moving in that direction because it's a better experience for both sides. And one other benefit for owners and operators of stays is that these guests, they used to be using almost exclusively left brain activities. So analytical, what's the value for my money? How many amenities they have, like all those sorts of things. Like what's the location relative to the attractions that I'm going to see? Now it's shifted to so much more right brain, where you're an emotional buyer. You see a video, you're like, oh, I have to stay there. And the only thing that really matters is how far away is it from me, and what's it going to take to get there. And there's a lot less price sensitivity than there would be with somebody who's kind of shopping, hundreds of listings on Airbnb or Booking. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time and interesting to see how it'll evolve.
Thank you very much, Ben. And Daniela, you're doing some really innovative things based, and Marbella being a completely different market to what else is represented on today's panel. How have you seen the landscape personally shift in the time since you launched your business? Also,
we're going back to Excel sheets and pen and paper, Paul. I'm a millennial just by 1 year. But I have Gen Z children because I was a mother very young. So being a millennial, we're on Instagram. The majority of our guests are baby boomers, so they are on Facebook. And then, of course, my children's age, Gen Z, they are on TikTok. So I have to create content for these 3 platforms. So when people, group of friends or couple, they want to book a holiday and they are in that dreaming phase, they are deciding what they're going to do. Sometimes we have 3 generations traveling together. But do you know where they share to each other all these beautiful links of places to stay and activities to do? They share it in the family WhatsApp group. So I found that WhatsApp is something that is used by everybody across all the different generations, because everybody has WhatsApp and everybody is on it all day, every day. So we've been using WhatsApp since it came out as a messaging platform. But since I think it was about 2018 or 2019, they started to add this status and broadcast list. Status are the 24-hour stories. We usually repurpose the stories we put on Facebook and on Instagram for WhatsApp. And then once a week, we send our repeat guests a nice video on a broadcast list. And this is what is making them feel in touch with the destination. And this is for people that are repeat guests of once a year, twice a year. But then we have people that have booked an apartment a year in advance, so 10 months in advance. And we're already starting to create that relationship with that guest on WhatsApp, as well as on Instagram and Facebook. Why do we push WhatsApp so much more than Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok? Because it's the same content for everybody. There is no so much pressure to create different content for a different channel, because as you will all know, because you're much more specialized than me in TikTok, for TikTok, you need a specific content, a specific hook. In fact, we are not succeeding much on TikTok. So I'm waiting to hear for your advices on how to do it better.
Thank you, Daniela. Just if you're seeing me, I've got a light that's turned on. So hopefully you're seeing me come across. But
We can see you perfectly.
you know, it's interesting there what you talk about with WhatsApp, and I know we're going to talk about that too later. But one of these terms that I keep hearing about it is the idea of a connected trip. How do you think this all plays into that? Because some people have different understandings, some people haven't necessarily heard of this yet. What does that kind of mean for you?
Well, connected trip, you can see it in two ways. You can see it either that you are connected throughout the trip, because you are always online. So you want to share what you are doing while you are doing the trip. That is one way of seeing the connected trip. And then the other side is where you can book everything in one place. This is what, for example, the OTA want to do, but they're not succeeding. Because as Ben has said before, I mean, people are starting already dreaming on social media with video, and the OTA are not doing that correctly, because only boomers are still looking at OTA and static picture. From the millennial onwards, we all want to scroll and see videos, and especially they are booking a whole holiday around an experience, or around a concert, or around a football match, or around hiking whatever peak. So yeah, we have a different way of seeing a connected trip, depending on what you're talking about.
Thank you, Daniela, for that. Ryan, again, completely different expertise to the rest of our panel here today. You know, you're a content creator, and you're traveling to all sorts of destinations around the world and managing social media channels. So I guess from your angle, what how do you think social media has changed the way that we search or we make decisions? What are you sort of seeing in terms of trends now?
Yeah, I mean, inherently we're all visual learners, and I think the time has kind of gone away of the static booking and static websites. So people want that visual experience and the storytelling that comes with video. I mean, one of the longest form types of social media that's been around is YouTube. So for a long time, we'd seen people doing long format YouTube. Maybe it's their full trip video or an itinerary for multiple days at a destination. But as things like Instagram Reels and TikToks come out, people want that short form content. They want to get hooked in. They want to have that emotional experience that really captures the experience and the culture of the area. So I think one thing that needs to be mindful of owner operators and experience providers is diversifying that social media presence, and diving into some of those newer trends, look for trending audio, and things like that. So I think it's a perfect time to dive into content and maybe push the boundary of what you would normally think of in terms of destination content.
And you know, from that too, you know, we all like to do posts almost live. You know, when we're at a destination, when we've arrived. Do you think that's going to, or maybe it already is, changing the sort of bookings that we create? Is it more last minute bookings, or yeah? What are you saying there?
So similar to what Ben was mentioning of kind of figuring out your trip around a destination, I feel like a lot of younger travelers find that key experience that they want to do, and they're more open to going on a holiday and not necessarily having a full itinerary. So they may have their first day or two figured out, their accommodations booked, and get to that destination, and then just kind of go with the flow and use social media as a conduit to figure out what to do next. I know for me, I'm more of a spontaneous traveler, so I've got a general idea of where I'm going, but I don't want to be stuck with a set itinerary, because it's that fear of missing out. What if I learn about something cooler that I didn't previously know about until I was in that destination? So I feel like a lot of people may be switching towards that last minute booking because they didn't realize it was an opportunity until they're already at that destination.
It's interesting, yeah. The idea of fear of missing out has been very much the trend of the last couple of years. I've even heard now the opposite of the joy of missing out, people who are maybe wanting to travel to different destinations or whatever. But that's maybe one for another day.
If I may jump in, out of season is a big trend, especially in the south of Spain. People, they buy a ticket to Barcelona and they will just wander around Spain for a month, and they arrive here and maybe they say, okay, I'll book 3 nights. No, actually, give me another week because I like it as a base to discover this place and this other place. So yeah, it's last minute is a big trend. And once they get to the destination, they see there are so many other things to do and they just want to stay. It happens to me every time I go to London. So
Rosie, just going back to that, it was articulated really well there by Ryan, this idea of fear of missing out through social media. We're going to touch on many different social media platforms, but I know TikTok is something that you focused on specifically at Stay the Night. What is it you think that's really fueling travel inspiration, shaping some of the trends that we're seeing now?
Yeah, definitely. So I think what we've already touched on is when TikTok kind of erupted on the scene and everyone just thought it was for teenagers doing silly dances. But it actually was the start of this move towards short form video that we've seen that shift, followed by Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. We've seen other platforms almost on the back foot to keep up with that. And I think it expands on what some of the other panelists have said. It's very visually engaging. It's in the moment. It's also just easier. People are getting a little bit lazier digitally, I suppose. Like, would you rather type something into Google and have to click on links and not quite know the quality always or where you're going? Or if you're scrolling through a feed, it becomes very native to how you're maybe spending your downtime. I definitely spend too much time on socials. So it kind of links in with that as well. There's also the emotional element, I think, that we've touched on. So it's much easier to get a feel for a place from that. And I also think as well, and this is a journey that we've gone on with our clients over the last, from the start of doing socials, we kind of said, look, we don't want the same pictures that you've got on OTAs with no people in, it's just a bed. It's, people can't picture themselves there. And I think we've seen a real rise in that less polished, in the moment content. Also around it's everyday people on TikTok. It's not just these influencers. It used to be that you'd go on Instagram and it'd be, these really highly edited, beautiful people who made you feel a bit rubbish about yourself, actually. And it was really edited photos. And then there was the whole thing came about of Instagram versus real life, and people were getting a bit savvy and a bit sick of it. But that relatability of TikTok, and we are seeing it reflected on other social media platforms now, I think that's what really drives the travel purchase decisions, because people trust that more, even if it's not always, every cushion's in perfect place in your pictures. People are seeing what actual experience you offer, and they're seeing it from their peers, and they're seeing it from these micro influencers who are a bit more real and that they trust. And just the final thing on that, I think there's already these existing travel communities on these platforms. So especially with TikTok, there is this preconception that it's just for Gen Z. But you actually, if you do a bit of digging, there is communities around family travel, around luxury travel, eco, even pet-friendly travel. You can kind of find little communities around this and people talking about it of all ages. And so I think for travel companies, that's really, those conversations are already happening. And so if you can use your marketing strategy to go and be part of that, it's a really effective way to meet people where they already are. So yeah, that's what I think's the power of it, really.
Interesting. Thank you. Fascinating insights there, Rosie. We have also got the link to your report in the chat as well, so I would encourage people to go and check that out. Ben, adding to that, Rosie's mentioned there's several different platforms. Anything that you'd like to add, and maybe specifically, comparing TikTok and Instagram, what do you maybe see as a more effective channel for you personally?
Yeah, so at least in the US, and all of our travelers pretty much are US, and most of them are drive to destination. Millennials still appear to be on Instagram first and foremost. So we are Instagram first. Millennials do make up the vast majority of our traveler. We're very focused on couples stays, typically, adult travel. So the kids aren't influencing travel decisions as much as they might be at more of a family-oriented destination. But I also wanted to touch on what Daniela was saying around Facebook. I think Facebook is one of like the biggest missed opportunities for a lot of folks. It's so easy to just cross post from Instagram to Facebook, and it's all in the Meta ecosystem. So you don't necessarily, I don't think you have to create content like dedicated for Facebook. I think you can just, create it for Instagram, cross post, and there's so much less video content on Facebook. It's easier to win. So there's just not as much good stuff on there. So I think that's a big missed opportunity for a lot of folks that we've really focused on lately. Because we still get plenty of boomer, travelers that are on Facebook that come to Onera. The 50 plus crowd is definitely still a considerable amount of our guests and our other properties too, not just Onera. TikTok, we do we do sort of auto post to TikTok as well. We're not creating content specifically, sort of geared towards or optimized for TikTok. We're Instagram and Facebook first. And part of that's just like resources, bandwidth, like where we're putting our, time and investment. But we do want to start to have a TikTok presence. We know that sooner or later, those Gen Zers and Gen Alpha that, even though there's other age groups, obviously, that use TikTok, it's still the majority, that they are going to age up to having disposable income, to wanting to do couples getaways, to, it's probably sooner than we like to think. So we want to be on there. We want to be learning and continuing to get better at TikTok as well. And we'll probably shift that mix over the next few years, I imagine.
Thank you, Ben. Daniela, anything you'd like to add? I know Facebook is another channel that you use quite a lot.
Yeah, Facebook. I mean, we do cross post from Instagram to Facebook and then repurpose for WhatsApp. We cross post on TikTok as well, because we don't have time to, I said that before, to create specifically for TikTok. This is why we're not growing on TikTok, but it is a 5-year plan, because obviously we have many in our 80 plus, not 50 plus. And those poor people in the 80 plus, maybe in 5 years, they will have to be replaced by the TikTokers. So definitely is a channel we have to get better and probably make time and create content specifically for it. So Rosie, please tell us how to do that.
I was just gonna, if I can just jump in around the Facebook thing, because I think this is really interesting, because for a while it was just a case of cross-posting on Facebook and Instagram. But I think we've found over the last couple of years with our clients that Facebook groups have really been a good thing.
Oh,
to
yes.
do.
Yeah, that's also another thing we do.
Yeah, and that's how I use Facebook to let my family know that I'm alive, who live in different parts of the world. And then for groups, so I'm in like a running group, I'm in a few different like Facebook groups, and that's why I log on really. And we did have a client who was geared at the over 50s, and it was about, making the most of life at that stage of your life. It was really very inspiring, and we made a Facebook group for that client. And we had really good success with that. And also just like it kind of, you moderate it and you have to put a lot into it at the start, but then it kind of takes on this life of its own. So yeah, that's just what I'd add about Facebook's definitely not dead. It's just very different to how it was 5 years ago. So yeah.
And the people on Facebook, they don't scroll madly as they do on Instagram and TikTok, but they engage with the content. They write all these long comments. Oh, yeah. What a beautiful sea. I remember when I was there with my sister 3 months ago and we took a trip on the boat, things like that. So you get like 5-sentence Facebook comments. So the engagement is, I would say, is the highest on Facebook. Yeah. But yeah, we're all pushing for the gram. Being millennials, we're all focusing there on the Instagram.
This has the potential to be awkward, but we might actually all be millennials on this panel. I know. Just about, I think.
I'm right in the middle of millennial. Yeah, so I'm right in the heart there.
I'm millennial by 1 year. Yeah. The year before it was boomer, so whatever it was before me.
Let's turn to Ryan, because Ryan, you're the real content expert, one of our content creators. Any tips for me personally, or for anyone tuning in today, what types of content do you think would drive the most exposure and also maybe have the proof of converting into more bookings?
So I think the common trend that everybody was talking about and may not have realized it is that authentic experience. We've kind of moved away from a time where large influencers are going on site and really driving traffic to those destinations. It's more about the real life individuals, the micro influencers who may have a specific niche, and even more a specific geographical niche. As I talk with different business owners and operators, a lot of them overlook those smaller creators, even though it may be somebody who's in their backyard that has that local audience that they can also drive as potential customers. So I think really capturing the moment in storytelling from an authentic perspective is how you're going to have better engagement with people. Because ultimately, when we're on social media, we don't want to be sold to. And as soon as somebody feels like you're trying to pitch them something, or you may be a little bit over the top on how you're explaining it, it definitely can be a turnoff from the viewer. So I think really figuring out how to capture that story in an authentic way, but also be efficient in your time. Because again, short form is king right now. So you're talking about maybe 20 to 40 seconds on average. Or if you're going for more of an inspiration style, you might be looking at something that's only 10 to 13 seconds or so.
Wow.
I got to jump in there quick just because I feel so strongly about this. News alert, people hate ads. So don't make ads with your social content. And if you're making ads, try to make them feel like they're not ads. So we see this a lot with luxury hotel properties and, just bigger hotels in general. Like their whole feed looks like one big advertisement. It's just all hero shots, slow pan. It's boring as hell. And it just feels like one big ad. So we're starting to work with some of those folks and trying to get them to see like, hey, if it feels a little more UGC, feels a little more authentic, there's more of a storyline around it. Maybe the captions aren't in your perfect brand font, but it feels more authentic. That can really create way better engagement. I mean, we've seen with with this 4-star property we took over like 3-4 months ago, we've 36x their engagement or something silly and 10x their reach. And one of the metrics I like to look at a lot is link taps. So how many people are actually going to the page and clicking on the booking site. It's the farthest down the funnel we can get without participation and cooperation from, booking engines and our owners and operators to get us the Google Analytics, like the GA4 data we need for better attribution, which is a whole side topic and another challenge. But link taps is the farthest down the funnel that we can control solely on our end as a social media marketing firm. And so, yeah, I mean, that shows intent to really look into a property, consider purchasing. You can kind of back into an ROI with, hey, we drove this many link taps. This is our, your website conversion, which pretty much everyone has at least the conversion rate, and then the average order volume. But getting to true attribution, revenue bookings driven from social is still like what everybody wants, what all owners ask for. And so it's a challenge, but something we're continuing to try to get better at.
Thank you.
Well, and if
can
I
I
may,
jump in? Sorry, you go first.
So one of the things that Ben just touched on, which I think is really important, especially if people aren't familiar with it, is UGC. So a lot of smaller businesses may not be confident to be on camera or want to make the content themselves. So user-generated content is a very good tool to leverage, especially if you're camera shy or aren't confident on camera yourself.
I have recently grown an Instagram account that for the Sky rental shows. I've grown it in 1 month, 500%, only on UGC on stories. So only reposting what people were sharing on the different shows. And it's incredible the growth and the engagement UGC has. Because my guests here, yeah, they do share, but of course, because we publish a lot, UGC is probably 20%, 25% of the whole content. But the scale channel was 100% UGC, and it was great to see how it skyrocketed within a month. So yeah, really push your guests to do UGC.
Impressive engagement. So
yeah.
But talking of engagement, actually, because we did a poll last week on LinkedIn, we asked our network, what will be our preferred channels through which to book travel online in 5 years' time? And I'll get the thoughts of some of the panelists afterwards, but interestingly, Booking Direct came in at number one, 41% of our network, so Booking Direct, followed by social media sites like TikTok at 23%. I don't know if that's perhaps as surprising, but it's coming in second. Traditional OTAs in third, the likes of Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com with 20%, and then also new OTAs platforms that may emerge within the next 5 years at 6%, and that's out of 56 votes. But I saw a piece recently, and Skift, I believe, made a prediction about 2030 direct bookings being the main source of bookings. So that kind of provided some of the fuel for this question. I know, Daniela, you're a bit of a direct booking advocate. So is that what you would have expected there?
Yes. We have 85% direct booking and 65 repeat, but definitely is a one-off because Marbella is a repeat destination. We mainly have all the apartment in one location, so it is relevant, but not 100% relevant, because the more I speak to other managers, the more I understand that what we have is quite unique. But yeah, Booking Direct is progressing because people know that they are paying 20 to 35% extra on OTA because they know that ultimately they have to pay for the fees. And yeah, TikTok and Instagram definitely, because they go there, they're dreaming, and especially last minute bookers. They scroll online, they see they like it, they see a link to the last minute offers, they click, they book, they pay, and they arrive the next day. So I haven't looked at the figure, but I mean, the booking window this year has shortened a lot. I would say at least by 10-15%. And last minute booking have increased by at least 20-25%.
Thank you, Daniela.
Yeah.
I'll get around the other panelists too, if I can. And I also want to look, as we move on from the poll, where there's space for new channels of distribution, because as I said, new OTAs or platforms, without knowing what's going to be launching and appearing within the next couple of years, is perhaps difficult to judge. But Rosie, I wonder perhaps if you can come in here. How close do you think we are to travellers being able to book directly on platforms like TikTok, Instagram? Is that realistic? Is that something that's coming very soon, or further off?
Yeah, I think all the signs are pointing to this being on the horizon. I would predict for TikTok probably next year. I know that I'm going on the record saying this, by the way, so this is recorded, so don't. But yeah, I think it's going to be very soon. They've kind of hinted at it. If we look at Douyin, which is TikTok's counterpart in China, and they're developed by the same company, they actually introduced in-app hotel bookings in 2023. And there's also the user behavior on the channel, because TikTok users are used to purchasing through TikTok. I don't know if people are aware of TikTok Shop. That's kind of blown up. And I know for myself as well, and again, I'm not Gen Z by any means, but I have made purchases through TikTok Shop, whereas I haven't ever purchased anything on Instagram. I'm not saying that I wouldn't book through Instagram, but TikTok Shop's been pushed and it's just been more and more normalized. So that user behavior is already there, so that when a booking channel is introduced on TikTok, I expect that it will be adopted quite quickly. So that's why we kind of say to our clients, it's better to have a proactive approach, build your audience now, get used to the channel, build your base, and then when bookings are turned on, you're ready and you're not on the back foot. But yeah, I think it's imminent, hopefully.
Ben, you've heard Rosie's answer then. Is that something you'd concur with? And do you expect to see a sort of specific types of behaviour or trends from travellers if and when these features are introduced?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time, as Rosie said, on both, Instagram and TikTok. TikTok will probably be first, based on what we've seen. But I think Instagram is coming out with a retail shopping option probably in short order as well, similar to TikTok Shop. So yeah, I expect to see it on both. And then back to your survey around booking direct versus booking on social. I think a lot of that comes down to what it looks like to book on social. Like, we don't really know that yet. Are they going to charge fees? How much are the fees going to be? Right. Like, there's a lot of questions. But I think that, I mean, all of the booking direct bucket for us, I mean, not all, but probably the vast majority is coming because of social media. So those are kind of combined for us. And I definitely believe that book direct, you know, and social combined will be the biggest channel in a number of years. And I think I actually said, you know, that Instagram would be the biggest OTA, and I meant Instagram more broadly as kind of social in general by 2030. And I think I might have overshot it. It may be in a matter of just a few years.
Thank you, Ben. Ryan, a slight departure here, but do you see hosts and operators leveraging their social media more to drive direct bookings, and is that going to be something that continues more into the future?
Yeah, I definitely think that is kind of the wave of the future, especially with organic social media. For those smaller operators who may not have a large marketing budget or be able to invest in ads, it's a way that they can start small or partner with somebody local to come up with that content strategy and drive to a direct booking website. And as a traveler, we're seeing better pricing when you book direct. So regardless of if you can book inside of social media directly, or you have to go one step farther and click a link in bio, I do definitely see that being kind of the way to get the best pricing going forward, especially if these operators introduce some kind of discount code specific to their social media. It's a way to raise that engagement and encourage them to go through that direct booking process.
And we were talking before, you know, about potential questions and what your around your specialism too. And you mentioned that you're seeing more content creators and micro influencers like doing their own trips, but now with their followers and creating that sense of community and connected trip too. Do you want to just expand a little bit on this trend that you're seeing?
Yeah, definitely. I think especially for solo travelers who want to get out and experience different areas, there can be a sense of individualism or loneliness that comes from doing that solo traveling. So I've seen a lot of content creators start to offer group trips. So you're getting together with like-minded individuals, you're going to these awesome destinations, and you're getting to experience that with other people. So it kind of combines the best of both worlds. You're getting to go where you want, have that flexibility, a little bit more of a standard itinerary, but regardless of the size of your following, it's easy to find community online and then be able to bring that into the real world through a group trip. And then you can also leverage that social media that you create during that trip to kind of create a snowball effect where you can roll that into promoting a future group trip. So owners and operators who are willing to partner with content creators, whether it's for group discounts or whatnot, I think we'll see a lot of potential growth in their business as more and more even small-time content creators are hosting group trips.
Thank you, Ryan. Daniela, you've said that WhatsApp is a really crucial channel for you. What do you see in terms of potential for you in the future and for the wider travel industry?
Well, I would say that if you don't have a WhatsApp strategy, you should start yesterday, because you are leaving serious money on the table if you're not using it, because you can sell last minute on both on status and stories. You can add the link, as you were mentioning just now, Ryan. For example, you put 2-bedroom apartment last minute, click here, discount code last minute 24, whatever. And from that link, they go straight to that apartment page and they can book. So you can go from social media to booking in 4 clicks. And that is really, this is really what people want, like a seamless booking experience. And I've sold quite a lot of last minute through status on WhatsApp and through stories on Instagram. And I think WhatsApp is also the way to be, because we're moving away from influencer. We all want to be connected within a community, and WhatsApp is a one-to-one messaging system. Even if I send out a broadcast video to 2,000 or 3,000 people every Friday afternoon, they feel like that I have sent it to them. So they're much more inclined to react to that message. So they would react with an emoji. They would say, oh, actually, I want to book a holiday for next year. Or I've had a lovely time 2 weeks ago. Thank you very much for everything. So it helps keeping you in the front of mind of your repeat ideal guest, or even just your ideal guest. Because if they book a year in advance and every Friday they get the same video, once they arrive, they feel like they know you. It's the know, like, and trust factor, being constantly in front of their eyes, daily, weekly, and WhatsApp allows you to do that in a much more personal way. The broadcast can be used as like it's the new newsletter. Newsletters have an opening rate of 40–50% if they're good. WhatsApp messaging service have 90% opening rate. So all WhatsApp messages are being seen, being opened, and you have to create that connection. Even if that person is not looking at all the video, they've seen it. So in their hidden brain, you are present.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Before we've got just over 10 minutes left before we're going to conclude things, but a reminder, please, to any of anyone tuning in today, please do pop questions in the Q&A and chat function for our panel, and we'll try to get those directed to our panel before we end today. Rosie, I'll turn back to you, because we haven't actually really touched that much on the traditional OTA side of things just yet. So from your perspective, how do you think the competition between the traditional search engines, the legacy or traditional OTAs that we know, and the social media platforms, how is that altogether going to drive innovation and change, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think that competition within industries like this always can end in a better experience for the user, which is a good thing. So I think social media kind of dominating in that discovery phase will push these other channels to integrate more video content, storytelling, the visual storytelling we talked about earlier. On the tech side of things, obviously Gen Z and Gen Alpha are digital natives. They're used to researching and booking on their phones. They're also looking for these personalized experiences. So I think we're already seeing some of the OTAs introduce, and Google have introduced as well, kind of AI recommendations, but to take that further to personalized trips, as well as things like live chat 24 hours, because we all want everything right now. And they might even look towards, I'd be interested to see if any of them bring in subscription models, which is obviously something that we've seen with some of the big hotel groups in the last couple of years. And then on the flip side of that, I think the social channels, obviously they've got to make their booking experience seamless, because that's what the OTAs do well. And we were talking about ads a little bit. I'd expect to see some new kind of ad formats come up here. So for those who do ads, and I do think ads have a place, then I think we need to look at the strategies around that and how we do it. I think I can't remember who said it, but about creating ads that feel native to your feed, that don't feel like you're being sold to. That's music to my ears. We've been saying the whole time we start Stay the Night, it was like, please don't sell on your social feeds. Like, it's the worst thing you can do. But ultimately, yeah, I think it'll lead to a much better experience for travelers, which can only be a good thing, and more channels of distribution for accommodation providers. So yeah.
Thank you, Rosie. I think was it Ben who mentioned that about ads?
I think so. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot who. Yeah.
My rant about people hating ads. Yeah. No, and I totally agree, Rosie, that ads have a place, and we're actually really getting more into paid media now too. But we don't want them to feel like ads as much as possible.
No, it's so funny, because we always say, so our most popular services, it's like combines the organic social with the ads. And it is this long-term approach where we're almost working ourselves out of a service in the long run, because once we build your social brand community, the less you spend on ads, kind of thing. So I always say it's quite funny, because we're kind of doing ourselves out of business, but it is for the better of for our clients as well. So
And what we've found is increasingly becoming the biggest value, and what we've always been as a marketing firm is content first. So it's all about producing, and I'm sure Ryan could speak to this too, right? The storyline and for us, I mean, we're mostly on Instagram. We still want to have really high quality footage. We have the best videographers, but it's just about weaving that story. I know TikTok can be a little bit lower production and still do really well, but on Instagram, we still want to have really good footage. So it's all about content first. We test that content organically. If it does well organically, then we can repurpose that into an ad because we already know that it's engaging and people like it.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do too. So we've had some ads, and it's always surprising because I think a lot of ads is, without going too far down that avenue, a lot of it is testing. And we've had ads perform really well for bookings that are like a meme, like a humorous video meme, even on Instagram. That's even surprised us. We were like, oh, that's actually driven bookings, but it was talking within that, that trend about booking offers. But yeah, I think it's how you do it,
I wonder.
Yeah, and that's very funny because sometimes I put up a 7-8 second reel that I've done in 5 minutes, and that might get 20, 30, 40,000 views. And then one that I thought about it, I've shot it, I've really created, spent maybe 2 or 3 days on it, nothing, bong, 1,000 views. And I'm like, really? I have a very cool one I'm going to release later today if you want to stalk me on social media. Let's see, because I thought about it for a week. So
well, I look forward to Ryan, I wonder, are there any social or booking platforms that you think are leveraging social media really well, or more than others at the moment that we should keep an eye on?
So in the travel space, there's not one that jumps to mind immediately in terms of embracing content. For online shopping in general, the one that I think's really embraced content over the last couple of years is Amazon. And I feel like if more of the traditional booking methods kind of base their model around that, Amazon rolled out the Amazon Influencer Program where people are leaving reviews, creating content that lives on the sales channels in Amazon, as well as Amazon Inspire, which is a TikTok style feed where you can scroll through it and it's videos about those products that make it as easy as one click to buy. So in terms of travel, not yet, but I think there's a lot of potential if there's an OTA that is the first to kind of jump on that model and really put their energy into it.
Thank you, Ryan. Some good advice there. Actually, Daniela, I want to get your advice here. You're talking at lots of different conferences. What would be your advice to whether it's property managers or hosts, no matter really what size portfolio it is? What would be your advice for them about growing their social media presence, whether that be to drive direct bookings or third-party ones?
Well, first to start with the channel where your ideal guest is. Don't go everywhere from the beginning. Just choose one, find a strategy, do a content calendar, find your pillars, and really build up your strategy. Find out what your ideal guest wants. It's about what you can do for them. It's not the channel to be, hello, here I am, beautiful property manager in fantastic Marbella. I'm sunning myself while it's pissing with rain where you are. So this is not what you want to do. This is make them feel what it would be to be in that destination in that moment, making them experience from behind the screen what it is to have beautiful fish on the beachfront on Sunday. So this is the kind of conversation, the kind of storytelling you want to talk on social media. And then yes, of course, if you want to grow a channel pretty quickly, then post quite a lot, produce some good reels, and do some adverts. And then from then expand to another channel or expand to another channel. So I would start with, I know that from zero at the moment, TikTok is the quickest to grow, but it really depends where your ideal guest is. For example, for our ideal guest, I could never start on TikTok. I would just go under, because probably 5% of my guests are on TikTok at the moment.
Thank you, Daniela.
So,
getting these last 2 questions from the audience before we finish up. So if any of our panelists want to raise their hand or just let me know that they want to answer these ones. So first question is
LinkedIn.
also relevant in short-term rentals? I see some guests prospects check into my account. Also, some prefer to book direct instead of via OTA. Does someone want to raise their hand and take that one, please?
Okay, I'll tell you what we do. So we have on LinkedIn, I have my personal profile, and then I have the profile of Skol Apartments Marbella, and I repurpose all the content from Instagram and Facebook on LinkedIn, and then I reshare it onto my personal page, because onto my personal page, we have probably another 5% of our regular guests. So they're doing their own life on LinkedIn like you all guys do. And every now and then they see one of my posts. And again, they are reminded that we are there. So if they want to come on holiday, here we are. But yeah, it's not extremely relevant unless you do corporate stays.
There was someone else who wanted to come in, I think.
Yeah, I'll chime in there too. I mean, I post a lot on LinkedIn. Mostly what I'm posting is more personal brand. It's more B2B focused content. But I've always been shocked how many guests anecdotally that I find out like know about me personally and like, you know, have seen me on Shelby Church doing a YouTube talk about the business, and then they come stay. And, you know, I'm not as founder led on our Instagram channel as some other folks are, and a number of reasons around that, why I'm not. But I am on LinkedIn, and people find us that way, and they want to know like who's behind a property. They want to know the story. And I think that does matter. And to Daniela's point, we're just now getting into more events and corporate with Onera Wimberley, our newest property. It's 28 keys, has a 100-person event space. And that world, like trying to connect with corporate planners, you know, meeting brokers, all these different organizations and individuals that sort of are the gatekeepers of that industry. I think they're by and large on LinkedIn. So we're very new to that. I can't tell you we've cracked the code on it, but I do think there's a lot of value there. And I've heard that from other folks. And the last thing I want to just touch on quickly that Danielle was talking about with, don't do the whole like look at me content, I think was kind of, you know, largely what I was hearing. And we look at that with influencers too. Like when we're like vetting influencers and trying to determine who we're going to work with. And there's a lot of influencers out there who aren't driving value, and there's a ton that are, and there's been inflation around influencers, I think. But you want to find one that is really showing off the properties, and it's more about the properties and less about them and less about just pure lifestyle content, because it gives them more authority in the space. And we take that over to our organic Instagram content that we create as Onera and, you know, other properties we manage. We want there to be models and like a lifestyle element to the shot, but they're very much what we call non-primary characters, or NPC. They're in like the corner of the video, like you just see their shoulder, their back's turned, so you can visualize yourself there, and it's not all about like that person. It's about the stay and the experience.
I've got one.
You know what works extremely well? Guest video interviews. Just grab a guest, who you are, where do you come from, why you're here, and then they just go on for 5 minutes singing your praises.
Okay, we've got one last question, but as you're about to finish up, what I'll do is we've got a couple of seconds towards the end. So if our speakers, if our panelists want to answer TikTok, Instagram, direct booking soon, but how to be found. I'm very high on OTA rankings, but how to be high there. If you want to put your answers in the chat so that our attendees can see, then yes, hopefully we'll be able to get an answer for that. Yeah, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our panelists today, to Daniela, to Ben, to Rosie, and to Ryan. I think we all agree we could be here a lot longer talking about social. But it's been a cracking hour, and I really appreciate all of your time. Got a couple of quick slides to run through before we finish. So our next webinar is in 2 weeks exactly. It's on Tuesday, the 3rd of December, same time, 4 p.m. discussing our 2025 predictions. So you definitely do not want to be missing that. Our predictions for the global short-term vacation rental industry in the year ahead, a session which is sponsored by Resumer. So we really hope you can join us then, and the link is in the chat. You can see on the screen. One thing that you have to put in your diary for 2025 is our annual Shorties Awards. confirmed to take place in London on the 1st of April. More details on the entry process to come very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. For opportunities to work with us, please do contact my colleague and our head of growth, Sam, using his details on the screen. Lots of opportunities to discuss with Sam. This session is going to remain open for just another 2 minutes if you want to grab any of the details from the chat, and there's been lots posted. Thank you to Logify and Key Data for sponsoring this webinar and our series. Do remember to check out Logify's Black Friday deal too. Thank you to all of our speakers, and of course to you all for tuning in today. We'll see you all again very soon. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hello, we are International Hospitality